All right. So you're gonna want to have some blocks, possibly. Um, yeah, I'm feeling like we make it a little twisty. Middle of my back needs some love today, for sure. So let's see where this goes, shall we? Find yourself. Actually, let's do something I haven't done in a long time. Let's do some three-part breath to start. So we'll actually start on our backs, but stay upright for a second to watch this. So three-part breath is if you think about actually kind of like the size of a block. We've got the first part, which is the abdomen. You have the second part, which is the diaphragm. And the diaphragm is like a balloon material that comes all the way around the rib cage. And as you inhale, drops down and compresses down into or rather it expands and it compresses your internal organs, which is a really nice massage. So we'll talk more about that. And on the exhale, it softens back up. And so, yeah, that's the midsection, diaphragm. And then upper section would be, I would say, shoulder blades and upper rib cage lungs. So thinking of like the hood of the lungs at the top that comes right up and under your collarbones. We want to utilize that space right up. Think of even into your throat is part 3. Okay. So we're going to be breathing and we're going to take a long, slow inhale. And we're going to start as if we had a straw, which we kind of do, right down the center of our body. And we're going to fill up through our belly and our low back, through our diaphragm. And I want you to think about your side body as your diaphragm as well. Actually, if you've got blocks, we'll use them as a guide kind of to try to make sure you get that side body working. So we start off belly, low back, all the way around the rib cage, and then up into your shoulder blades and collarbones. We hold the breath and then we release through a long exhale. Okay. So it's just to try to trigger our body to have a more full round breath. It's one of my favorite breath techniques. And I haven't taught this in years. I haven't done it in years, but it spoke. So here we are. So if you've got your blocks, or even if you don't have blocks, but you just have like items of some sort that you could essentially rest right next to your rib cage so it touches your rib cage, and shove it right up kind of into your underarms. Okay. And we're gonna have the arms out to the side, either straight out to the side or even in cactus position if that feels better. I'm going to suggest keeping the knees bent, feet on the floor. That's just going to provide a little bit more space to connect through your low back and belly. So as we breathe in, we start thinking about reaching for the bottom of the pelvis. So think about reaching for your tailbone and your pubic bone, like you're trying to fill from there. So we slowly inhale through the low belly, the low back. That expands, you feel it press into the floor, come up into the diaphragm, all the way around, start to feel the breath push into those objects in the side body, and then all the way up into the shoulder blades, collarbones. Pause when you're as full as you can go, and then empty all the way out. So that was like a really, really long inhale because I had a lot to say. Obviously, you're gonna do this at your own pace, but I want you to really think belly, low back, all the way around the rib cage, blocks, shoulder blades, collarbones, and release. Yeah, so just keep going at your own pace. It's nice to close the eyes so you can really turn your awareness inwards. And on your exhale, see if you can really let everything surrender. I'm going to take about 5 more of these breaths. And take just a couple slow, regular breaths. And I find that after doing that really focused work, that my natural breath is so much deeper and smoother. It's like I remember how to use my entire lung capacity. You can set those blocks off to the side. We're already on our back, so might as well utilize that. Let's come into a modified pigeon. So you're just going to take that right ankle, cross it at the left knee, pull the left leg towards you, grab hold of that left leg. You can grab the back of the thigh or the front of the knee, whatever works for you. And that right foot is going to stay flexed. And that's going to help protect the knee. But it also makes sure that you take this into the hip, where if you let the foot go, you can actually end up doing most of the work in the ankle and not really getting any hip work whatsoever. So as you're doing this, as you're pulling actively with your arms, your knee towards you, I want you to think about your tailbone and your sitting bones being heavy. So the low back gets heavier, the pelvis melts deeper into the ground. So there's a gentle lengthening of the low back onto the floor. And it's as if you're pulling or pushing, your pubic bone away from your belly. So there's a lengthening through the waist and a tugging, a pulling with the arms. And if you'd like, you can come back to that 3-part breath or just focusing on a nice, slow, steady inhale and a slow, steady exhale, either through your nose or through your mouth. But finding a lot of surrender through your rib cage on the exhale.
And you're going to keep that left leg lifted, but just release the thigh. Cross the right knee deeper over the left so that your knees come in alignment with each other. So right knee is closest to you, left knee is further away, but they are in line with each other. And you're going to grab hold of that left knee and pull the knees towards your chest. So I'm pulling the knees as tight to my chest as I can. And the same thing we just did in pigeon, you're going to lengthen the low back. Think about pressing the tailbone and the sitting bones towards the floor, lengthening your pubic bone away. And then you're matching that with resistance in the arms, pulling your knees towards you. The most important piece of this pose is that the butt is lengthening down and the knees are pulling in. So you want to maintain that if you go deeper here. To go deeper, you would walk your hands down the legs a little bit and start to pull your feet apart. Now we're still pulling the knees towards the chest and lengthening the tail away. So we don't want to see this. We don't want the knees pointing at the sky, okay? We'll keep the knees in nice and tight and wide and pull. You're welcome to stay exactly where you just were. Hands on the knees. Continuing with that nice, slow, deep breath. And gently release those legs. You're going to keep the knees tucked in nice and tight, and then drop them over to the left. Right arm is going to reach out to the side. And you're trying to hug the knees up towards your left elbow as much as possible. So we're kind of yawning open the spine here as we come into a twist. And as we stay with a nice deep breath here, focusing into the belly, low back, and rib cage diaphragm area. Then we're going to get some extra massage going on through the belly. You might get some gurgling in the belly. This is awesome. It's just helping stimulate your digestion. We take a big breath in, and on your exhale, draw your belly towards your spine and bring the knees back center. Okay? You're going to bring the left foot down and just walk it a little bit away from you. And we're going to use that right foot, right ankle, to pull the left knee to the right. Now it may come to the ground, it may not come to the ground. We're looking to create a long line from our left armpit all the way down to our left knee. So I actually like to take this left arm, and instead of just having it straight out to the side, bring it up at a diagonal to encourage that idea of a long line. And you'll feel this anywhere between the knee and the hand, really. So you might get this along the rib cage, under the shoulder blade, across the left hip, the belly, the low back. Anywhere you feel it is good. It's just the area where you're tightest. And everyone's going to feel it a little bit differently. Taking a deep breath in. And we exhale, back center. Undo the legs. Make sure you're in one long line again. Now we switch sides. So left ankle at the right knee. Pull the right leg in towards you. Grab hold of the back of the knee or the front of the thigh. And we come back into that pigeon variation. Left foot is flexed, protecting the knee, but also ensuring that we're working in the hip and not wasting it in the ankle. Back to your breath. Nice, slow inhale, filling all the way up. And then a surrendering exhale, trying to soften everything as much as you can. And we're drawing the legs towards the chest and lengthening the low back, the sitting bones, and the pubic bone away from the belly and down towards the floor. Releasing, we're going to cross the left knee over the right. So we bring the knees in line with each other. Then grab hold of that right knee and start to pull towards you. Again, the most important thing about this pose is that the knees are coming towards the chest. followed by the tail and the sitting bones lengthening down towards the floor. And we want to maintain that action of the knees coming into the chest if we do decide to take it a little deeper by walking the hands down the shins, separating the feet, and then pulling everything down towards the chest while continuing to lengthen the tail away. Back to your breath. A second to do a body scan and just notice. Is there any place that you're holding unnecessary tension? Like I just caught myself in my right shoulder hanging on in a way that I didn't need to be. What's going on in your toes, your jaw, your tongue, or your forehead? Are your eyes wide open and you're staring at the ceiling? Try to relax the eyes, close them. Soften the jaw, let the weight of gravity widen your mouth. Feel like your cheeks are heavy, falling towards your ears. And you're going to take the knees over to the right. And let that left arm reach straight out to the side. Really focus the breath into your belly, your low back, and your diaphragm here. So you get the added benefit of a nice internal organ massage in this pose. And again, your knees are pulled up nice and tight to the right elbow. And see how much softness you can bring into your body with every exhale. And taking a deep breath in. To exhale, draw your belly button back towards your spine to bring the knees back center. Set that right foot down and then just step it a little bit away from you. Bring that left ankle across at the outer right knee, and then you're going to let that left leg drag the right knee down. Now again, may or may not come to the ground. That's not important. What's important is we're getting a nice stretch from the knee all the way up through the right hand side. And again, I like to take the arm up at a diagonal to get a little bit more action through the rib cage and shoulder blade. Continuing to see how much softness you can bring into your body on your exhale. And taking a deep breath in. Exhale, come on back center. Release that left foot. Now take your feet as wide as your mat and then drop the knees in towards each other. Take a couple deep breaths here. And then you're going to keep the feet where they are, but lift the knees up. I'm just going to windshield wiper all the way to the right and back center, all the way to the left. So just go back and forth. If you find something interesting, pause and breathe into it. You're just opening up the hips a little bit more before we come to standing. One more on each side. Good, and then you're just gonna roll over. Grab your blocks, put them shoulder width apart. And we're gonna come into up dog on these. It's one of my favorite up dog, down dog variations. You want to use gravity here. So let your hips be super heavy and hang. So the weight of your thighs and the weight of your pelvis is actually going to traction out your waistline. So you come up into like plank pose, right? And then flip the feet over and hang the hips. Bend the elbows for a second so that you can really send your chest through and your shoulders back. And then lengthen the elbows as much as you can without caving into your chest. And then you're just letting gravity do its work here. And then lifting up and sending the hips up and back into downward facing dog. And I like to walk my heels to the end, or my heel of my hand to the end of the block, so that I just have a little bit more security, that my hands aren't going to go weep. They're going to hook onto that block, And then it's just a normal down dog from there. We spread the fingers nice and wide. We lengthen the pelvis up and away from the belly. We send the thigh bones back and the heels down. And you want to sense that somebody's got a hold of your hips and they're pulling you up and back. We're going to walk the feet forward all the way up to the blocks. And you can lift the blocks up if you need to, but you want to be able to have your hands on something. That might also be the floor. Bend the elbows, let the head hang, tuck the chin, and then just start to shift your weight backwards into your heels and forwards into the balls of the feet. So the balls of the feet and the heels stay on the mat. So we're not doing like a crazy rock and roll thing. We're just shifting the weight from the front of the foot to the back of the foot. And as we're doing this, what I want you to do is notice where you get the most sensation. Okay? A couple times and really go, okay, it's right there or it's right there. And when you find the most sensation, I want you to stop and hold there. And then again, we're going to use the breath. So on that exhale, we want to find as much softness in the pose as possible. And that might mean that you need to change the height of the block. You might need to come up or down. It really just depends on your body today. So if your body's saying, I'd like you to come up a little bit, honor that. If it wants to go down, honor it. You're going to bend your knees, tuck your tail, and start to roll yourself up from your low back all the way up. Your shoulders and your head will be the last things to come up. So you have a big shoulder roll and the head will follow. Standing upright for a moment, let those shoulders drop down. Just sensing the weight of gravity now that you're upright. Good. All right, so you may or may not need your blocks for this. I'm going to have my blocks handy just in case I need them. I'm going to turn sideways on the mat. Open up. So we're a little bit wider than, I always like to say we're about like, I don't know, between our elbows and our wrists is where our feet are. Whatever's comfortable for you. Now, the main thing that you want to focus on here is that you're not collapsing into your arches, okay? So you want to spread all 10 toes and really press, seal the outer edges of your feet down onto the mat. And just imagine you've got a marble in under the arch of each foot. And you want to have enough space for that marble, because if you put it down, it's going to be uncomfortable. So we've got space for the marble. And then look at your toes and just notice if you've scrunched those toes up to make room for the marble. Sometimes we do that. I want you to spread them back out. Keep the space for the marble, but relax the toes. Okay? Now, as we lift for that marble, when we're not doing it with our toes scrunching, when we soften those toes, we have to engage the inner thigh. So if you're having a hard time getting those arches to lift up, I want you to think about the inner seam of your pants on the inside of the leg. And just imagine that you are zipping up towards the pelvis, okay? So we're really lifting those inner thighs, and then you'd actually be able to even like pick your toes up and spread them, because it's all coming
from the inner thighs and from the pelvic floor and not from the feet at all. So we're getting that lift coming way out of the feet, okay? So that's where we're at here. You're going to take the hands to the hips, send the hips back, the heart forward, and come down. And I want you to do the same thing that we just did in the forward fold. Now, again, you might need your blocks, you might not. But we're going to shift our weight from the front of the foot to the back of the foot, as far as we can go without the balls of the feet or the heels lifting up at all. Okay, so that means we've got plenty of weight in the feet and very little in our hands. And I want you to, again, just feel into the sensations. Notice where you get the most sensation. Now, this doesn't have to be in your hamstrings. Just because we're in a forward fold doesn't mean it has to be in your hamstrings. I'm actually getting the most sensation in my outer ankles. Okay, so it doesn't have to be in a logical location where you get the most sensation. You're just looking for the most sensation. And then you're going to stop. And then you're going to see if you can deepen into that sensation by letting the head go, or how do you need to move or shift yourself to deepen that sensation. And then I want you to also do a body scan and notice, where am I hanging on to unnecessary tension? Again, common places: hands, neck, shoulders, forehead, tongue. So in every yoga pose, you're always, or in every, let's say, yang yoga pose, when we're not in a passive yin pose, we want to be thinking, how do I find a balance between the most sensation and the least sensation? I want to be super active in some places, and I want to be as passive as possible in other places. It's finding that balance. And the interesting thing is when you let sensation lead you in a pose, so meaning you find where you have the most sensation and then you melt into that most sensation, it's going to change and it's going to move in the body. But you're looking for that edge. And then the body will guide you to exactly what it needs. I want you to bend your knees and slowly roll up. Again, one vertebrae at a time. Shoulders are the last thing to come up, well, then the head. And just standing for a moment, drop the shoulders, let the weight of gravity settle into your shoulders. Nice. We're going to turn the right toes out. And then have your knee track right over the second toe. So you're really pushing that knee out, and you can actually take your right hand and press gently outwards. Take your left hand and press gently downwards with your hip. So what we like to do is lift our back hip up and let the knee fall in this pose. So you really want to resist, send the knee outwards and send the left hip downwards. So if I was wearing a tutu, I would be level. I wouldn't be tipped, okay? So you might have to do warrior two with a hand on a knee and a hand on a hip, and that is fine. You can also take the arms up. As long as the knee is behaving and the hip is behaving, you're welcome to take the arms up. Now, to make sure the shoulders behave, if you are taking the arms up, turn your palms up. It's going to encourage them to drop down, okay? Because again, we're looking for action and inaction, and our shoulders will always want to do action. They always want to be up here. So we're looking for inaction. Lazy shoulders. Let the jaw drop. Feel that left inner thigh reaching down and forwards towards your right heel. And then find your breath. Straighten out the right leg. Rotate back forward. You can drop the arms down if they're up. Again, just take a second to let gravity drop the shoulders down a little bit more. We're going to switch sides. So left toes turn out. Left knee is going to track over that second toe. So it's really pressing out. Again, you can assist with the right hand, or sorry, the left hand on the left knee. You can assist that right hip down with the right hand. So we really watch that external rotation happen through the left hip. We feel that right inner thigh reaching down and forwards towards the left heel as the right hip drops down. Then you might hang out like this. You might take the arms up. Again, if you take the arms up, encourage those shoulders down by turning the palms up. Find your breath, slow it down. And we're looking again for sensation in the body. Being present with the sensation in the body, breathing into it. Notice where you're holding unnecessary tension. I'm going to straighten out that left leg, relax the arms if they're up, turn the toes back forwards. And we're going to take this into a forward fold with a twist. So you're going to come down, maybe onto your blocks, maybe onto the floor. You're only going to need one block, and it's going to go right under your chest. I do tend to like a little bit of elevation here, no matter how bendy you are, because we're not really looking to get all the way down. We're looking for our head and our butt to be about the same height. So depending on your arm length, you'll probably need a block. If you're short-armed like me, you'll definitely need a block. And I'm just going to take my left hand onto the block right under my heart. Okay, so it's going to feel a little weird. It's going to be across the body slightly. Now, we're going to come into a twist, and we're going to do some cross fiber action here. So when we come into a twist, a lot of times where we're twisting, we like to lead with that opposite hip. But I want you to resist. So the left hip is actually going to lift up. Imagine somebody's got their hand on your hip bone and they're actually pulling it up. And then we're going to tug against that to rotate around to the right. Start with your right hand on your sacrum. Okay, so your right elbow points towards the sky. If you've got the shoulder mobility, feel free to take the arm up, but it's not really that important. What I want you to focus on is getting that left hip up and the left rib cage down. So that's your main focus. Left hip up, left rib cage down. You focus on those two things. Everything else is going to kind of fall into place. And then slowly unwind. We're going to turn the heels in, drop the booty down, and take the elbows onto the knees. There's a little sumo squat in between sides. Lift the hips back up, turn the heels back out, find your block, or hand on the floor. You're gonna line that block up with the right hand on it and under the heart. So again, it's gonna feel weird because you're cross body. Hand comes onto the sacrum. We lift the right hip up, so shift a little more weight into the right foot, and then drive the right rib cage down as we rotate the chest open to the left. Keep lifting the right hip, and again, if you've got the shoulder mobility, you can take the arm up. It's not super important. We want to be focusing on right hip up, right rib cage down. Slowly unwinding. And set those blocks all away. Bring the heels in, knees out, elbows down, sumo squat. And then hands to the floor. Step that leg out from under you. And let's do one more really quick twist before we come into Shavasana. So because we've just really opened everything up, we might be able to get a little bit deeper. Start with your feet on the floor. Lift your hips up, swing your hips to the right so that your left hip is in line with the center of your chest. Left leg lengthens down, right foot on top of the knee, twist over. So it's just a much deeper twist. Unwind, feet to the floor, hips come all the way up, shift them all the way to the left so the right hip is in line with the chest, lengthen the right leg, left foot on top of the knee, twist it over. Breathe. Unwind, feet to the floor, lift the hips up, back to center. Set them down. Lengthen your legs down, give the hips a little wiggle, give the legs a little wiggle. Arms drop out to the side. Oh, take a couple rounds of that 3-part breath that we started the class with. And then let the breath go. And just completely surrender into Shavasana.
Begin to bring your awareness back to your breath. A couple of those 3-part breaths again. And begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes, hands and feet, arms and legs. A little stretch. Knees to the floor, or sorry, feet to the floor, knees to the sky. Rolling over onto your side.
Coming up. Finding a comfortable seat again. Turning your awareness inwards. Just feeling all of the sensations in your body. Sending waves of gratitude into each and every cell of your body. Bring your hands together at your heart center. Thanking yourself for practicing today. Namaste.